Hello, happy Monday. Welcome back to the channel. Ern here. I buy and I sell and trade and I vend and I collect and I grade. Shit, I messed up again. All right, welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday. If you're unfamiliar, my name's Ern, and I talk about the hobby in a stream of consciousness and in a way based off of experience and sharing the things that I've done, the things I'll do, and what I've learned throughout the years. This topic today is going to be about why I do not actively invest. I get goosebumps every time I say it. Why I don't actively invest as much as I used to. And take it, if you will, anti-investment piece of content today. Mainly because I think as of late, there's been a lot of discourse on the right and the wrong and how to get ahead, how to not get ahead, and how do you grow, how do you not grow, is this the right thing to buy, is this not the right thing to buy. And I figured I would just insert myself very cleanly and innocently. Hold on, let me make sure I navigate, see how much time I have into this topic, because I've more or less done it before. So let's talk about it. First things first, I did go to a show this past weekend and it was great, awesome. To recap, I purchased 4 copies of special delivery Charizard. I said it before, last video, two videos ago. Literally by the time I bought it on Saturday to auction end yesterday, there was like a 20% swing on the price. So I don't know. Market's going crazy. If you can find these things, identify these things, you'll do well. It is speculative. It is a little bit of a gamble. But hey, I did well. Last night, I think there was an auction that ended at like 730 or 740. And then lowest listing on eBay is now like 700 plus. Minus the listing out of Canada. So, that decision has worked out well. I purchased, did I have like cream cheese or something on my pants for my daughter? 5 Pokemon Go Mewtwo Vs, PSA 10, 2 copies raw. I got a Double Crisis Japanese booster box, not incredibly rare. It's now getting to be incredibly rare. In this booster box, it features the Double Crisis Kyogre and oh my god, Groudon. And what's unfortunate is I sold my 2 previous PSA 10 copies, or traded them rather, for like a total value of like 18 or 1900 3 weeks ago. Those cards are now going for like 2200 for the pair, 2300 for the pair. I got the box at 2300, and so I saw an opportunity, and this is one of those times where, because I know a good amount of the Japanese market and Japanese sealed, and I understand more or less the Japanese prices for things, and I've been paying attention to the current trends for these cards and the recent sets, I made a bold play to buy into this box with the sole intention of holding it for, I would say, short to midterm, and then selling it or trading it later this year. One thing to note, with Japanese boxes, from black and white and X and Y, they're getting to be very hard to find. And if you can find them, they're typically super expensive. So I saw an opportunity. I'm a fan of this stuff. I follow this stuff. I will be able to resell it in the future. And I think it was a good opportunity. I was not expecting to buy this at all, but push comes to shove. You get a little influence from your friend, Rob, Red or Blue, huge Japanese fan, and it got me over the edge and I bought it. There's that. 2 boxes of Astral at $370. 1 box of Evolving. I paid up $1900, but this one is mint. Minty mint. It is obviously more than I've been buying as of late, but I'm happy to buy that. And what else did I get? Oh, I sold a bunch of stuff. It was a good day for selling. But this card, thank you for turning. Let's talk about why I don't actively invest as much as I used to. and I will talk about the market conditions, talk about my own perspective, and talk about really why I've learned that when you park your money into sealed, it is not necessarily the best way to grow the overall pie that you're building. So I've explained this before. I spent a lot on Sword and Shield. I bought boxes when they were cheap, 80 bucks, 90 bucks. I sold Evolving Skies on the way up. Don't regret it for a second. It was the right play at the right time with the information we had. Ripped all my Fusion Strike, rebought it in Fusion Strike. Most of the stuff I've purchased, I would say, throughout the years and held are Lost Origins, Brilliant, Chilling. Lost Origins, Brilliant, Chilling. Yeah, I think so. I think that's right. No, Lost Origins, yeah, and then Silver Tempest, and then everything else. So that's kind of my general pie of the stuff that I've purchased and I still hold. And I approach the hobby a lot differently now than I do back then. Primarily it's because back then I think I didn't have a lot of experience like with all parts of the hobby. I had an experience as a buyer, as a wannabe investor, if you will. Like, I'm gonna be honest, a lot of people out there working with the limited information that I have, or the information that I was exposing myself to, and different Discord communities, YouTube, and that kind of thing. And really, a lot of this changed for me when I would say Scarlet and Violet first came out. So if you were there, you can probably recall coming off the coattails of Crown Zenith, which was heavily printed back then. It got multiple reprints. Crown Zenith was a great set. However, people did not believe it was going to be the one until after the last reprint kind of subsided. It was readily available. You could get your fix. And when that happens, when the market is satisfied, no matter how good the set is, no matter what anyone says, it's gonna feel different. There's not gonna be as much hype. People aren't gonna be as excited, and it's not indicative of if the set is amazing or not. It's more so just supply and demand. When there's FOMO and there's people who can't get what they want, it drives a level of scarcity and excitement, angst. It drives people in a way that gets them really riled up. And if everyone got their fair share, if you could go to Target, wherever else, just buy product, you don't get that animosity in the hobby. And scalpers and flippers, people who do retail arbitrage, I'm not going to go as far to say as they are good for the hobby, but I do think it's fair to say if they are around, it means that there is a lot of opportunity that's being capitalized in the hobby. And it also means that the hobby is at a point where a lot of profit's being made by a lot of different people, and the people, the customer that suffers, or the user group, population base, whatever, that suffers the most is the people who can't regularly buy. So there's like this interesting flywheel ecosystem that's going on where if everyone got their fair share, there wouldn't be as much hype in the hobby. If everyone got just enough and couldn't get everything they wanted, that's kind of the sweet spot. If no one can get anything, right, then that's probably not good for the hobby. And we were like that 6 months ago, right? Prismatic Evolutions came out. You couldn't find it anywhere. You still can't really find it everywhere. But it was the only set that people really had access, that was new, that people wanted. Now that Journey came, now that Destined Rivals has come, it's kind of slowed down. It's a little less crazy, but it's still a little nuts. Anyway, why am I talking about this? When Scarlet Violet first came out, there was a lot of negativity in the hobby because there was too much supply. And I don't know the financials, but the game was still selling well. The card game was still selling well. People were still buying boxes. Everything was just cheap. There was too much supply for how much people were in the market. And as a result, it, drove a lot of people either out of the hobby or away from the hobby for a bit. And at that time for me, bear in mind, I had spent a lot on Sword and Shield, already taken profits and gains. I continued to buy some Scarlet and Violet, but not to the same level as I did with Sword and Shield. In fact, I didn't really buy or heavily position myself into Scarlet and Violet until, I would say, summer of last year. Summer of last year was an interesting time in that the hobby was still kind of like lukewarm, cold to lukewarm, and it didn't really begin ramping up until obviously November was starting sparks. So that's what happened at the start of Scarlet and Violet. That's what I also started to do, and this is 3 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, I started to sell more. And part of that desire to sell more, or the need rather, is because I had seen how much money I had spent on the hobby. And I felt it was about time for me to stop trying to continue to acquire and figure out how do I build a sustainable business model while continuing to grow profits. And I talked about most people don't know how to take profits in the previous video, specifically because I think when people think about taking profits, they think of it as a store, a merchant who's constantly churning and burning and constantly trying to make money all the time and always taking profits where they can. That's not taking profit. That's not my definition of taking profits. Some people, that's how they approach things. Some people that they don't approach that way. But for me, that's not what I think about. What I think about is, are you in a position where you're able to take profit, and constantly use it for something else? And it doesn't require you to always be selling something. It doesn't require you to run a rip and ship or have low margins, high volume, or whatever else. All I'm saying is that it is a mentality shift from thinking about constantly trying to spend money in the hobby and invest to hopefully one day make a profit. And I feel like when I talk about the types, the investor types, it's amateur investing, right? It's these individuals who continue to spend money and believing, rightfully so, the yield goes up over time, but they never understand that. They never get to the point where they realize how to sell, how to realize profits, and how to actually take that and do something else with it. When I looked at the people with the biggest, Pokemon net worth, I don't know what to call it, with the most amount of Pokemon, there was not a single person, there's still probably not a single person to this day who only invests. Prove me wrong. There is not. there are, that's an overgeneration. There are very few people who only do that and nothing else. You look at Alex, the Genomics. He runs a rip and ship. He buys cases, he sells packs. He's invested, he's also selling investments. He's doing a multitude of different things. He is not just buying things and sitting on them and waiting and praying. And I think people don't like to hear that, but it's the reality of people who have been successful in this hobby. And why I got into selling is that if you only rely on one way to generate revenue, if you only rely on one way to make money, to grow your collection, grow your portfolio, whatever you want to call it, right? Then you are only limiting yourself to one way to grow. And I learned that early on as I started to invest more, that there's nothing I could have done to speed up time. And I drank the same Kool-Aid. I believed if I waited long enough, and some damn good Kool-Aid, because it's true, I believe if I waited long enough, that I would generally make more money in the future than I spent back then. And it's not wrong. It's actually not wrong advice. But, however, if your sole goal and intention is to make a lot more out of your time and your money in Pokemon, You will soon realize as you do this more and more and more, it's the selling, the flipping, the grading, the language arbitrage, the platform arbitrage, all of these things on top of investing, which generally should be a smaller part of what I would recommend most people do. That's gonna drive the most velocity for most people in the hobby. That's gonna get you from point, you know, from thinking about spending $500 a month to invest to spending half, invest, spending the other half, go find singles, grade, and flip. And the returns on that kind of stuff are much faster and happen much sooner than people think. One common thing I hear from people who are of the pro investment crowd, but obviously haven't done anything else, is, well, selling and flipping just takes so much effort and energy. That's not wrong. I will say, though, there are parts of selling and flipping that take a lot of effort and energy. There are also other parts that are very fast, very simple, and are well worth your time over trying to figure out which website has the latest and greatest MSRP drop. So I think there's like some overgeneralization that it is a lot more work. Don't get me wrong, though, it is. There are parts of it that are. Selling sealed, shipping sealed, packing sealed, all that stuff carries a different amount of bandwidth than just buying sealed, waiting 5 years, and then magically being able to sell it in the future. But I will put out a challenge and say, if your goal is to grow, and I gotta imagine if you're in the hobby, late 20s, late 30s, like a lot of people coming in are, and you're not here just like a kid in the candy store just trying to collect and finish binders, because everyone's time is worth money, right? If your goal is to grow, right, then wouldn't you want to look at every avenue that will help you grow the fastest? And that prompt back then, that was my mind shift change, where I thought I had all the answers and squatting sealed was the way to do it, and if I just waited long enough, and like, this is something I hear too, it's just disposable income, and who cares if it goes to zero, right? It's like, yeah, that is a great way to live by. Most people are not able to do that. It is a false narrative, false assumption about people, and it's just a way to deny any sort of opportunity to grow. It's lazy. It's lazy. I want to say it outright. It is a lazy way of thinking, because if you truly didn't care and it's truly disposable, then you also truly would not be spending so much time trying to figure out what to buy next. You feel me? So it's like, I don't know. I just find it ironic that for such a strategy to exist, meaning buying sealed, waiting, doing nothing, the amount of energy, effort, and time that people in this community spend on this topic, it doesn't map back to how low effort it's supposed to be. It really confuses me. But hey, it is what it is. So, why did I stop investing? It's because I realized that this is not the fastest way to do this. It's a mechanism. Don't get me wrong. I still hold a lot of sealed. I will still buy sealed when I see the opportunity. I'm buying Sword and Shield, obviously, but I'm not waiting for destined rivals. I have one case. Great. I am not waiting for the next Target drop or Costco drop. I'm not waiting for these things, because it's the energy and time you spend trying to optimize that way to grow. I have found it's not really worth it for me. It's not to say it's not worth it for anyone else, or for you, but I have preached this for a long time. When you figure out how to sell and your network expands past just investor people you know or just collectors, but it expands into how do you service investors and collectors and buyers and traders and flippers, you will unlock so much more opportunity to grow your card revenue, your card portfolio, whatever you want to call it, simply by understanding how to sell and simply by understanding what is the right time to take profits. And I had a comment the other video, something along the lines of like, well, you're the guy who sold Evolving at 400. I'm like, yeah. And I would have sold it 100 times over again at 400 and 500 because it was the right thing to do for me at that time. That's the point. If you think you're going to catch the next Evolving or the next Fusion or the next whatever, and you're seriously just waiting for that time and day to come, that time might not come as fast as you think it will. So, are you going to be okay with that? And it's very easy to point at like people like me and say like, well, you didn't do it, that's why you're upset. I've openly said I wish I would have bought more. I've also openly said I feel damn good about rebuying and Evolving at 12 than I did buying at MSRP. It's just different circumstances, right? And it's not about being right or wrong. And I think the sooner that as you get into the hobby, you start to realize it doesn't matter what other people are doing. All that matters is you are good with how you are doing things. You feel good about it. You can afford it. It doesn't matter to you if the market's doing it or not. That's when you truly unlock the enjoyment part of the hobby, but also just a new way of thinking about investing or collecting or whatever. I am publicly sharing a lot of the things I'm specializing myself into. Special Delivery Charizard, Pikachu 020, A2V. I'll share this one. Pikachu V gold card, not metal. The promo gold card from the UPC, PSA 10. Now a $300 card. Pikachu level X. These are things I'm openly sharing because I want people to understand not that they are great buys. I mean, you can look at it however you want. You should do the research, right? But I'm sharing it because I feel damn good about these picks for me. And I can afford it. And I'm moving my money over from Sun and Moon into Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon over into these things. And I see a path forward and a way out for when these things start to do well. Can you say the same thing about the things that you're buying today? Or are you constantly looking for validation from people who are doing the same thing, yet very few can show you exactly why they're qualified to be doing that? That was the point of the other video. Hopefully that makes sense. And, you know, at the end of the day, why be in this if you're not willing to learn and not willing to grow and not feel good about the decisions you make? Why be in this if it's constantly about comparing what you're doing to someone else and saying this person's not smart because they did this, you would have done that? What's the point? At the end of the day, what's the point? Okay, that's it. That is generally why I've stopped investing. That is also why I've started to spend more money on more expensive things. But you won't catch me buying cases of the latest and greatest like I used to. Part of it is I think we're priced in. It feels too expensive and there's other places to buy, other things to look at. And if you're a modern chaser, just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for not participating elsewhere where there's more opportunity, and continue to pump Scarlet and Violet for the rest of us, because it's just solidifying the decisions that we all make by not buying into the latest and greatest. So that's it. That's all I got today. Did I ruffle some jimmies? You gotta learn to not care. You gotta learn to not let things bother you because people are not agreeing or doing the same thing as you. For me, look, you can copy me. Free advice, copy me. But it won't matter. And I'm not concerned if people copy me. Why? I know how to unlock sell through. I know how to unlock inventory and assortment. I know how to get more. And you can scour listings, you can do the eBay thing, you can buy one thing here and there. I'm not bothered by it because we're not in the same game. We're not playing for the same reasons. So there you go. All right, that's all I got for you guys. Happy Monday, and I will catch you guys. Sorry, I'm trying to merge. This car is being weird, not letting me through. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.